Welcome to the Girl Gang. I'm Katrina Gardner of Katrina and Create.
And I'm Dominique Goyette-Connerty of Evergreen Marketing. On this show, we're going to chat with women business owners in Massachusetts and those who support local women in business.
Because girls don't just want to have fun. They also want to sell real estate.
They want to open a brewery.
They want to teach others to invest in the stock market.
They want to take stunning photos, plan lavish parties, and help people recover from injuries.
Girls just want a podcast.
What can we say?
We're girls.
Hi.
Hello.
Happy 2025.
It's 2025.
Another year.
Are you excited?
I mean, I'm glad 2024 is over, but
Yeah.
another year.
Yeah, I think it's exciting. I think it's exciting to start a new year.
Can you believe it's been 5 years since the start of the pandemic?
No.
I mean, like 4 years and 10 months or so.
Yeah. No, that's really...
Feels like yesterday.
This is just our life now. This post-pandemic world. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I think I'm supposed to be more excited, maybe, about the start of a new year.
I don't know. I'm excited. I got a lot of shit I want to leave in 2024, so...
Fair.
You know, here we are. This is our last couple episodes. This episode and next week's episode. Last couple episodes in this studio.
Mm-hmm.
We are moving studios again.
We are. We're just, always
We're just
updating, upgrading.
Yeah, that's us. We're just bit bopping around. So we're not going to tell you where we're going right now, but we're excited to share it with you when we are officially there for the first time in a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Yeah, we're excited. It'll be good.
Yeah. And you already know the person whose business we're supporting by moving studios, if that makes any sense. Because you've met her on this podcast. Mm-hmm. And that's a little teaser for you.
Yep. Let's see if you can figure it out before we're there.
Yeah, try guessing. DM us if you have a guess.
Put it in the comments. Let us know. Vote.
We'll also be coming up, other 2025 things in store. We'll also be coming up on our first anniversary as a podcast.
This podcast is turning 1 soon.
Yeah, just a little baby.
Our little baby podcast.
Oh, baby.
Yeah. Should we celebrate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should come up with something. Mm-hmm. I have some ideas, but we got to sit down and plan it out and stuff.
Yeah. I added where we keep all of our podcast notes, I added a section called celebration or 1 year or something.
I saw that.
It's empty, but I added.
Oh, I was going to say, I saw that, and before you even did that, I already added it in the tasks thing.
Yeah.
But I think you would have had to, you probably don't look. It's at the bottom of the tasks list. Mm-hmm. And I did put a couple things in there, but things have also changed since I started writing that, if you know what I'm saying.
I do. I'm picking up what you're putting
Yeah,
down.
it's unfortunate. But, so we will have to think about a different plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good thing we didn't get too far on the first plan.
I was talking to one of our previous guests, Veronica from Cookie Lady's Daughter. Mm-hmm. We're having our 1 year and we want to do something to celebrate. And she was like, have you ever done a live episode? And I'm like, oh, no.
No, we have not.
But that was her advice. If you guys have any, suggestions for how we should celebrate, let us know.
All right. And those are things coming up in 2025. So welcome. Here we are.
We're here.
And let's bring in our first ever 2025 guest.
Let's do it.
Does that make sense? Yeah. First guest of 2025.
Yeah.
That tracks.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do it. Welcome to Girls Just Wanna, Tess Waresmith, owner of Wealth with Tess. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. I haven't seen you guys in so long.
We were
just super fun to hang out. We could have just chatted forever.
We just spent 15 minutes off camera, just shooting the shit. It's fine. And then we also said, oh, let's not swear that much. And then here I am. So it's fine. We're just going to do what we want. It's fine. Welcome to 2025. We do what we want. Yeah. So we're so excited to have you as first episode of 2025 because I think a lot of people are going to try and take control of their money. I know things with honestly the political climate and the economic climate, of course, are, touch and go. It's a little anxious for everyone right now. So I think this is like perfect timing. Glad that you could come on. But before we get into all of that, people who don't know you, what is Wealth with Tess?
Sure. So I am a financial educator and a speaker, and my goal is to make personal finance and investing education as accessible, digestible, and jargon-free as possible, so that if you are somebody that feels like you're bad at money, behind, allergic to math, that you can learn the basics. Because
check.
Because the truth is that a lot of basic personal finance principles and even learning the basics of investing are not that difficult, but there is so much emotion wrapped up in money, and then also so much financial jargon, and we don't get set up for success in school or in college. I know I didn't. So in my 20s, I made so many big financial mistakes that cost me thousands of dollars. And then I learned all the basics, and I went on this tear of learning everything I could, and I realized it's just not that hard, but no one had taught it to me in a way that I could understand. And so my goal is to make it as accessible and non-judgment free, because we've all made financial mistakes too. And so I do that through a lot of online content. I'm at Wealth with Tess on Instagram. I have several online programs, beginner investing programs. Even if you're totally new, and even just hearing the word investing makes you a little comfortable, that's the kind of person that I want to help, because it really is possible to build wealth and grow your money. And like you said, there's never been a more important time to do that than right now, especially for women.
Yeah.
And before we get too far into it, I know you make a point to differentiate financial education from financial advice. Can you clarify that for everybody, what that means?
Absolutely. I'm glad you asked that. So financial education is the goal of providing you with information and frameworks and processes that can help you manage your own money. Financial advisors or financial advice is giving you basically a prescription saying this is what I think you should do. And so while there is a time and place for that, the vast majority of people can learn a framework, get information that can help them make better and easier financial decisions, when oftentimes financial advice can be very expensive, especially over the long term. And so what I want to encourage people to do, no matter where you are in your financial journey, if you're just trying to pay off credit card debt or you're learning the basics of investing, you should invest in your own education first. And what's great about today is that there's plenty of ways to learn. I provide tons of free content, online courses, there's YouTube, there's so many ways to learn. So if you are in a place where you want financial advice, I really encourage people to get an education first, because not all financial advice is created equal. And if you don't have a basic education yourself, there's no possible way that you can vet a financial professional anyway. So that's really the difference, is the difference between providing you with education. My goal is that you don't need me someday, right? That I teach you all the things, that you have the framework, that you can answer most of the financial questions and grow your money in whatever way feels right to you. And then if you do need advice in specific situations, you can get it at a more reasonable hourly rate because you know what you need, versus going to someone and saying, I have no idea what I need, and then they sell you a bunch of crap that you don't. And so that's my goal, is to make sure you get that baseline education. So honestly, you can protect yourself from bad actors, because unfortunately, not all financial advice is good advice.
Right.
While you were talking, it kind of reminded me of what's the saying, you can you can give a man a fish or teach a man to fish.
Yeah.
And okay, great, you have one fish. But if you can learn to fish, you have set yourself up for long-term success, and that's an invaluable skill. So if you have the education, you can make good decisions going forward.
Right.
And then you can buy a fish whenever you want.
Right. And that's a great example. I work with a lot of moms. So most of the women I work with in my classes or online courses are, women in their 30s, 40s, early 50s, and a lot of moms. And a lot of moms feel super guilty that they're not investing for their kid or saving for their kid yet. And in reality, the better gift that you can give your kid is to understand the basics of personal finance and investing. Teach them that, because they can understand the basics really early on. A lot of money habits are formed before a kid is 7. So if you just teach them stuff like delayed gratification, we're going to save up for that toy or whatever, that kind of stuff, that's going to make a huge difference versus saving $10,000 for your kid and helping supplement their college.
Yeah.
If you teach them how to invest, $100 or $200 a month when they're 17, 18,
Yeah.
they're going to be a millionaire on their own.
Yeah.
So I think that that's really important. We talk about generational wealth a lot, and I think that that's it sounds like, oh, we're passing money down to our kids, but I want to focus on the knowledge part, because especially with today's economy and how expensive things are, it's just not realistic that you can save a bunch for your kids. So you might as well learn what you can and teach them along the way.
And you work with a lot of moms or women in their 30s and 40s. What's the reason why women struggle with this so much more than men do?
There's endless reasons. I think for starters, the messaging that women get around money is usually focused on saving and like coupon clipping and finding deals. Whereas there's a lot of studies on this, and I don't have the exact numbers off the top of my head, but a lot of articles around money for men are focused on investing and building wealth. And for women, sometimes it's even gaslighting, like you're poor because you do your nails and buy lattes, which is gaslighting and BS. Like that's not why. And so I think the other thing is women in general tend to want to make sure they do something right before they jump in. I think that while there might be slightly better financial literacy for men, I think a lot of men think they know more than they do, right? Like to be totally honest.
The confidence of a man, I wish I had it.
Right.
I'm just
like there is that just like natural like
I feel like
difference.
it's kind of like how women won't apply for a job because they don't meet all
every
of the
every single requirement.
And men are just
but
like,
men are like,
they
oh,
only
I've
meet
got
half,
2
and they're
out of
like,
10.
I'm perfect.
Yes, that's a perfect example. It's similar to that, and it's often where sometimes I have couples go through my beginner investing program, but when I have women go through it, a lot of times they'll be like, I want to learn because, my partner or person thinks that they know everything, and I just want to learn myself. And then they realize that their partner isn't actually making like the best decisions and could also use this education. And so I think it's really interesting because as women, we tend to have so much more self-doubt when in reality, and then we just assume that maybe our partner knows more, but in reality, they might not. And so maybe they do, maybe they don't. You won't know that again until you get a basic financial education. And with the amount of things that can potentially happen in your future and the way that life can pivot so fast, even if your partner is crushing it, you need to learn the basics. A man is not a financial plan.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one.
Put that on a shirt. So you kind of started to touch on it, kind of like your history with finances and like wealth, and how did you get into this line of work where you are educating other women? What kind of influenced you to do this as a career?
Yeah, so it actually started in my actually before that. As a kid, I grew up being really nervous about not having enough money. There was a lot of turmoil in my family and a lot of divorce. And so I grew up with a fear of money, but also realizing that money was a tool for flexibility and independence. And I couldn't have told you that back then. I just knew that I needed it and I needed to hoard it, and that would make me safe and give me options. And I didn't want to end up in some of the options that I'd seen other people in my family. And so when I graduated from college, I was really eager to find a good job, couldn't find anything, ended up with some weird jobs like working at a dive bar. I worked on a cruise ship for a while. I was an aerial acrobat.
I love seeing some of your previous work photos. It's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a different time. So, I thought I was going to find some great corporate job, and here I am on a cruise ship flipping around. And the best thing about that was I was able to save some money.
Yeah.
And so I knew enough to know that I wanted to make it grow through investing. Like I knew conceptually what investing is, but I didn't know how to do that. So I hired a financial advisor, somebody I knew interested. And unfortunately, over a period of well over 5 years, this person made a lot of poor decisions on my behalf. And it was interesting because I was interviewed for a CNBC article that we were just talking about that just came out. And the person interviewing me asked me what were the red flags, and I said I honestly couldn't tell you back then because I didn't have enough information to even identify them. So what ended up happening is this financial advisor invested my money in super high fee investments, ones that they got commission on. They also had a huge fee on top of that, so I was paying a 1% fee to the financial advisor, another percentage fee to use their platform, another fee, a very high fee for the funds that I was invested in. And so all in, I was paying over 2% in fees with the money I'd worked so hard to save and I wanted to grow. Right. And what I didn't realize is that sounds relatively innocuous, that 1 or 2% fee. And this is true in 401ks too. If you have any kind of investing account with an advisor or even a 401k, there's fees everywhere. And if you don't understand them, they can compound just like you want your money to. Right. And so what I realized is I probably spent $10,000 in fees in a relatively short amount of time. And I was sold a financial product, an annuity, which was wildly inappropriate for somebody my age. I was in my 20s and I just didn't need it. And it's very expensive and it ties up a bunch of my money. So that experience, without going into too much detail about all the mistakes, that experience made me realize that we are told to like outsource to professionals, and generally speaking that's good advice, but you can't outsource to the right professional if you don't understand the basics. And so after all that happened, I learned a little bit about personal finance. I read a couple investing books and I realized, oh my gosh, there are super easy ways to do that anyone could learn. Even if you're one of those people that feels like you're bad at money, allergic to math, like any woman that is able to press play on this podcast is able to learn the basics, but it doesn't feel that way because of all our limiting beliefs and all the things we're taught. So that's why I'm so passionate about financial education for women now, is that through that experience, if I hadn't have figured that out, I would have spent hundreds of thousands paying someone to do a bad job for me. And I never would have known. And there are so many women figuring this out later in life. And I want to change that. So that's my backstory. And for a long time, I was very angry about it, but now I'm very grateful because I've learned a lot and I've been able to build wealth using super simple, automated strategies that really anyone can learn. And that's what I'm so passionate about teaching people, is that you are really capable of
and you're helping so many people.
Thank you.
That must feel good.
Yeah.
You know, after everything that happened, it's like, well, at least I'm here on this other side, like able to support others.
Totally. It's super rewarding. And the cool part about it is, especially for somebody, if you're listening to this and you're like, I think I know what you're saying. Like you think I can invest, but I can't. Like you really can. And it's so exciting to teach people the basics in a relatively short amount of time. Like my beginner investing program is 4 weeks. And you're not becoming like an expert stock analyzer. That's not what we're teaching you. We're teaching you like basic set it and forget it strategies that like you can implement pretty quickly, and you can start investing with $10 if that's all you have. And so it's cool because not only am I able to help people learn the basics, it's also faster. Like you don't like the metaphor I use is, I think people think you have to, analyze charts. You're always online. You're like watching the market. Like that's not the type of investing that works best anyway. It's more like getting a driver's license. Like you don't have to be a mechanic to drive a car. You just need to understand the rules of the road and like get your license and learn a bit, and then you're good and you have that skill forever. Learning the basics of investing is the same thing.
Yeah. I also love that you said, even if it's just $10, because I think a lot of people are like, oh, I can't afford to invest. I don't have enough. There's that barrier because they don't have like $1,000 pocketed away.
Right.
And that's a misconception that you don't necessarily need that.
Right. And I also love, we love so much about you, Tess.
Thanks. I love you guys too.
I love that, you're focused on helping women specifically, which isn't to say that a man can't take your, beginner investing course. But women, I think, as we talked about, need the education. I think we've been conditioned to not know a lot of things. Women have been behind historically. There's the wage gap. We didn't have credit cards or weren't allowed to have credit cards, weren't allowed to have loans without a man's signature and whatever.
Quite like 74.
Quite recently. Like my parents were alive for this. That's really troubling. But obviously that is so aligned with like what we're passionate about on this podcast, of course, empowering women. And so I also know that like you've been able to start doing this full time. Like you were working somewhere else. This was kind of what you were doing on the side, but it's been so in demand and you've been able to help so many people that this is now your full-time job. Can you talk about like A, how that journey has been and what you've been doing now full-time, and B, like the things that you offer now for women?
Yeah, so I love that we touched on why focus on women specifically. And in addition to the barrier of information and just some of the lack of self-confidence that's built in and years of not having options, like we just talked about. Like, you couldn't get a business credit card or loan until the 70s, I think. Yeah. In addition to that, we are living in a time where every woman needs a little bit of money to be able to remove themselves from a bad situation. Sure. And historically, that wasn't even an option.
Right.
And in order to make sure that we're able to, build a life that we want, protect people we care about, you have to have some of your own money. And what's interesting is that just this week, I've had not only a few of my students, but also other women's groups reach out and say, hey, we're noticing this problem that people want to be able to leave an abusive relationship and we can't walk away because we don't feel financially
right. They
sound.
Feel stuck.
Yeah. And that is heartbreaking. And so to parlay that into your question about like running this business, it's such a dream. I didn't imagine leaving corporate so quickly. It kind of just happened. My role was changing and it ended up being the right time for me to leave. Building this business has been super rewarding, very difficult. I also like to be very honest. Yeah. Like if you are somebody that's looking to jump ship from corporate and start your own business, I really suggest that you do things on the side first. There's this mentality of like burn the boats and just start your business, and it's really hard in the beginning. And there's a lot of misleading content around, how you can make 6 figures from your online business in 90 days, and that's just not accurate. Yeah. Like anyone doing that has either some background, they're lying, like it's just like more difficult than that. So I'd say it's been super rewarding. It is very, very difficult, but I'm really grateful that so many people have wanted what I offer and that I'm able to help them with that. And it's truly just like a dream, but it's also eye-opening.
Yeah.
I started this business as a side project because I had friends asking me questions. I didn't really understand how pervasive a lack of financial knowledge was among women and how much it was holding women back from living their best life. And so like I love teaching investing, but that's not like the exciting part. The exciting part is when someone's like, hey, I left my job and found a better one because I wasn't afraid, because I knew I could like manage my money. Yeah. That's the cool part. Or like I started this business finally, or I left this toxic relationship. Like that's why I do what I do. It's not so you can have like a bunch of dollars and buy mansions and Ferraris, which like if you want to do that, like that's cool. But I like teaching women to have their own money so they can have freedom and flexibility and optionality and influence too. Like more money in the hands of women. There's so many studies around this. Like women give back more to the community and they donate more. And so for all those reasons, I wanted to create something that spoke specifically to women. Although of course, if you're a nice person, no matter how you identify, like you're welcome. Yeah. But I will still always stick to that because there's just too much data around. You said the gender pay gap. Then there's the gender wealth gap. We make less, we invest less, and then that wealth gap persisting, especially right now in these challenging political and economic times, is going to hurt women more and more. So hopefully I can, in my little corner of my world, help as many women build wealth and then influence others to do the same.
Yeah, and I like that you said too that it's not just necessarily like teaching people how to invest, right? Like you're the I don't know if you know this. You're the reason I have a high yield savings account.
Oh, really?
Never knew they existed.
That's so
Didn't
great.
know it was a thing.
Okay, we have to sidebar on what that is for the audience because this is like my favorite simple thing. So a high yield savings account is just a bank account. Usually it's an online account. So normal bank accounts are like brick and mortar. You think about the banks around your area.
Right, like I go to a credit union.
Right. But there are online banks that will give you a much higher rate for your savings account for doing nothing. It's no risk. So if you have any kind of like emergency fund or you're saving up for a car or anything in the next 3 years, beyond that, ideally you're investing. But if you have short-term savings that you don't need, that's just like such a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So where did you open it?
I'm going to forget the name of it. Because I put it in there and it just makes the money. And
that's fine.
Ocean First.
Okay.
It's an online bank, but it's through Raisin, who has
Raisin's great
with all the different institutions. So I like went on, picked the highest at the time, the highest rate. So it was like over 5% or something.
Amazing.
But before you had mentioned high yield savings, I had more than 6 months of emergency funds just sitting in my credit union, which makes like 0.01%, like nothing, like pennies.
Yeah.
And now like that's churning out a few $100, maybe $1,000 a year.
Yeah.
And it just sits there, and it's good that if I ever were to just like completely, I mean, like I transitioned to having my business full time this year, which is great, but it's like nice to have that cushion there.
Totally.
God forbid my business doesn't work out, or like, oh, my clients are like, bye. I have at least 6 months of savings to lean back on, which I had the money before, but it was just sitting there. Now it's making me a little bit more money. And it's still there in case I need it. You're also the reason that I opened a Roth IRA. I already had a 401k. Didn't know that I could have both.
Cool.
So like things like that, like super, super simple things.
Yeah.
Literally
You've
took
just
me.
gone to the like workshops, right?
Yeah, I mean, you talked at YPWA.
Yeah.
I follow you on social media, of course. I hear you have a podcast now, which I should probably be listening to. But like super simple things, not even learning the stock market, learning, index funds. Before you even do that, like, do you have emergency savings? Like, do you have a general plan for retirement? Like, are you putting a little bit of money aside? Super simple things that it's like, I don't know why I didn't know about it before. Like,
well, there's no mechanism.
Nobody teaches us.
There's no mechanism for that. Like there are some basic financial literacy requirements in some school systems.
that's good.
Usually they're already
That's a start.
It's a start, but it's tough because like there's not enough teachers that can teach it because they don't know.
Right.
And then a lot of these programs end up in wealthier towns that are able to afford it. So it's not necessarily the silver bullet that we need. It's starting to change, and there are some really cool people in the finance space that are working on that personal finance legislation in high school, but it's still a huge problem. And now what's interesting is that I think there's more awareness around the importance of understanding the basics of controlling your money and growing your money, which is great. But there's also a lot of crappy information on social media too. So, through the work that I do, I post a ton of free content. I'm so glad that you've taken action. That makes like totally make my day. Yeah. But what's really important is I tell everyone, I'm like, look, anything I tell you, like, go vet it.
Yeah.
And you should vet anyone because there is so much bad stuff that's not true online too. So I always just suggest, anytime you're getting information, make sure you double check it. But that's awesome that you open that. That's so cool.
Which, like, again, took me 5-10 minutes online.
Yeah, it doesn't take long.
No.
So a Roth IRA, I'm always about like making sure we explain the jargon. So a Roth IRA is an individual retirement account that anyone can open as long as you've earned income. And then when you contribute money to that, so in 2025, this would be a great goal if you're listening to this and you need like a goal for this year. If you can contribute up to $7,000 in 2025 over the year in a Roth IRA. What happens when you contribute that money is you can invest that money. So you don't want to just contribute it and not do anything. Like a Roth IRA is not an investment. It's a account for investing. So it's like think of it like a Russian nesting doll. Like you have like the outside of the doll, and then inside you've got to make sure that you actually select investments, which there's easy ways to do that. But once you learn the basics, you can choose those investments, but that money will grow, and it grows tax-free. And then in retirement, when you withdraw the money, it's also tax-free. So it's just such a no-brainer. You can contribute as much as you want up to that limit. But yeah, I'm so glad you did that. That's huge.
Yeah. And so simple things like that. Do you have other input, I guess? Because again, we're here at the beginning of this year, people who are trying to even shift their money mindset or just do simple things to make big changes long term. Is there anything that you could kind of give people kind of quick?
Yeah, absolutely. So I like to, the way that I usually do, so I do investing education for corporate companies. I have my own online programs, and I like to divide it up into digestible chunks depending on where you are in your financial journey. And so there's kind of like 4 themes that you can focus on depending on where you are. So the first one would be your money mindset. If you're like, I can't even look at my bank account, then doing some work understanding like, why is that? How does money make you feel? Did you have a certain upbringing where most people, their parents didn't teach them about money because our parents didn't know anything about money. But like you didn't learn about money. Were your parents always struggling for money, or were they spending a lot? That can definitely influence how you spend money. And then also realizing, are you making decisions in service of your goals? Like, do you have a goal, a money goal?
Right.
Most people don't really think about their money goals, but we should
Right.
all have them. Like, that goal could just be to get out of debt, or to retire comfortably someday, or to make sure you have enough money to take that bucket list trip. And if you don't have any goals like that, you're not going to take action in the direction of them. So the first thing is to, there's a lot of great goal setting and vision boarding at the beginning of the year. That stuff's all great. I'd make sure some of those are tied to finances. Some of those are money related. And then, so that's like the first piece is, your money mindset. If you're afraid to like look under the hood, like that's where you want to start. Then from there, there's really like 3 things you need to know to be good at money. You need to learn how to save it, how to spend it, and how to grow it. And so if you're in a place where you have credit card debt, that's a matter of really understanding like your cash flow, how money comes in and out of your life, and starting there, because you can invest as much as you want, but if you have credit card debt that has over 20% in terms of that interest, investing isn't going to help you get out of that. And so usually the order is of your checklist, your 2025 financial checklist should look like making sure you have 3 to 6 months of emergency expenses first, even if you have credit card debt. Because if you have debt and you don't have that bucket and something happens, then you're just going to get into more debt, right? So step 1 is that emergency fund. Step 2 is creating a plan to take care of that credit card debt. And then once you've done that, once you've paid off any high interest debt, I would say over 8%, then you can start investing. And regardless of how much money you're making, even if you only have a couple bucks left at the end of the month, understanding how powerful investing that is over time and how that can grow because of compound interest is really important. So then I would say from there, opening up a retirement account that helps you save on taxes and helps you build wealth is a great next step. And then if you're already investing from there, then there's all kinds of things you can learn. But that's really the first 3 steps. Like if you can pay off your credit card debt and come up with a plan for that, and none of these things are overnight. Like this might be like a 2-year process.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
But if you never open the hood, you're never going to make progress.
Right, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah. So those are like the two non-negotiables before you start investing are those things. So if you don't have that emergency fund and that high interest debt paid down, then you want to start there. But once you've done that, then learning the basics of investing. And again, you're not learning how to analyze stock charts. There's amazing ways to invest like you have, where you open an account and you choose simple investments. These are usually funds that hold hundreds or thousands of different stocks, and you buy and hold them for decades. So your goal this year could also be education as well. I always say that too. Like maybe this is not the year where you're able to invest a lot, and that's okay. Maybe you just prepare for when you do.
Right. You got to learn this stuff first.
Yeah.
Totally fair.
So if people want to work with you, if they want to reach out, ask you questions, figure out, they're ready to make that step to invest, how can they get in touch with you and where can they find you?
Yes. So the best way to find me is wealthwithtess.com. First of all, there are tons of free resources on there. So there's like mini courses you can take on a variety of stuff. So www.wealthwithtess.com. I also host free workshops often, and I'm so glad you got so much out of them. So you should join.
They're great.
Thank you. So I host tons of free stuff. So make sure you go to that website. I'm also on Instagram @wealthwithtess. And then if you ever have a question, my email is on the website, or you can DM me on Instagram. But I'm always happy to point you in the right direction if you have a question. If I can help you quickly, I'm always happy to do that. So wealthwithtess.com and @wealthwithtess on Instagram.
Awesome. And then before we go, we like to give guests the opportunity to shout out other women in business, or women-owned businesses. Do you have someone in mind?
I do. They're kind of like a team.
Perfect.
So in Worcester, there's an amazing real estate agent, Gabby Demick.
Oh, okay.
And she works with a mortgage lender, Allison Moore.
Okay.
And the two of them host how to buy your first house classes.
Ooh. Nice.
Yes, and they're so good. And I say that from somebody that learned a lot, and I have bought multiple real estate investing properties. And there were definitely some things in their class that I was like, that would have been helpful.
Yeah.
So from somebody that has bought multiple properties and has minor regrets now after attending their class, Gabby DeMack and Allison Moore, they host them at breweries too. They're super fun.
Nice.
So I think that's really cool. Like, in the same way we talked about personal finance and investing education, but anytime you're making a big purchase, there's so many great people that want to make sure that you don't overspend and that you find something that works for you. And so they've come to my group and hosted their How to Buy a House class is a bonus in one of my courses. And it's just been such a great resource for people. So, I hope more women become homeowners in the future. Obviously, it's very difficult to do right now. But learning the basics and preparing is great. And I love what they're doing. And those classes are free. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. This has been enlightening and just awesome. And what a great way to start 2025. We're so glad you could come on.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It's so good to see you guys.
Thank you. Great seeing you too. First Hearted or Hated of 2025.
Let's do it.
Why did I say it like that? Okay. I don't remember what I had first, honestly. Oh, I know. Harder or Hate It, very on topic with today's guest. Budget apps. Do you have one? Do you like them?
I have one.
And you don't use it? Or do you use it?
I like to pretend that money doesn't exist. So
That's a really good plan.
yeah, it's working out really well. So I have Rocket Money, and I get the emails. And
See, wait, isn't that the one I have?
Yeah,
Did
it
I tell you
is.
about that one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I referred it to it, but yeah, I do have that.
Yeah.
I always forget the name. The logo really is burned into my brain.
No,
now.
I get the emails that like, oh, you spent this much more this month than you did last month, and I'm just like, okay, like,
delete.
pretend that didn't happen.
See, every week I get the notification that's like, you spent 35% less this week than last week. And I'm like, how do I keep getting that notification? How am I spending less and less every week?
I'm like, how am I spending more? What am I spending money on? So I find
that's
it very...
what the budget app is for, Katrina, so you can see what you've spent money on. I don't want to. Okay, well, I'm a heart it. I like it. It's showing me where everything's coming from. Because, like, some things I put on my debit card, most things I put on my credit card. Obviously, I have stuff that comes directly out of I have a car loan, comes directly out of my bank account. So I just like seeing, and then also I have like investment. Well, I don't really have that many investments, but like I have, what do you call it? An IRA? Or is it a Roth IRA? Oh, this is bad that we're talking about this episode. Through my credit union, like I have a certificate, and then I have a 401k elsewhere, like stuff like that. I have a high yield savings account elsewhere. And so like all these different institutions and like cards and whatever, and I can see it all in one place. So I don't have to like open up my credit union app and log in, open up my credit card app and log in, like it's just all in one place, which is nice. And then I can also categorize each of my transactions. So I can see like, oh, I spent like a lot more in like, I don't know, cat food and cat like litter and toys and stuff this month than I did last month.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So I like it. It's helpful. I also use Rocket Money.
Yeah.
So I like that one. I know there are other ones, but this is just the first one that I used and it stuck. So
Yeah, I mean, I want to say heart it. I love the idea of it. I should just be better at like actually.
you love the idea of a lot of things.
I do. I basically don't have my life together. So that's where the issue is. But I'm going to say heart it. Yeah.
Okay, what's next?
Heart it or hate it, Squishmallows.
I put this on our list because I didn't know what they were until recently.
Okay.
They are apparently like a stuffed animal, but it's like softer, but with a story. You know about these? Do you not know about these?
I didn't know that they have a story. I have several.
You have several and you don't know that they each have a story? They each have a name and they have a little story?
Well, okay, so Squishmallow, maybe it's because it's become such a big brand that they've got like the Bluey Squishmallows. Like we have Bluey Squishmallows. I don't think that one has a story.
Well, I mean, Bluey itself is a character, so that
Right.
has a story. But there are others, like, we just got one so our manager at kickboxing, shout out Kat if you're listening, like wanted one, and we got one for her for Christmas, and it was like a dinosaur, and like the tags, they have like names, so the dinosaur's name was like Danny, and Danny has this like short little story about like how he loves to play board games and like stuff like that.
Oh.
Anyways, I think they're soft.
Yeah.
And I guess they're cute, but also I feel like they're over, like, why are they everywhere now?
It is like a thing. Like,
right? Like, people are collecting them and stuff.
Yeah, and they get like sold out of the stores.
Right.
Like, the day that they launch.
I think that's crazy.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, no, it's soft. Don't get me wrong. That's cute. But, like,
it's just like
chill.
It's a collectible. People get excited about it. I don't have any, like, for me. Well, I have like a couple, and they might not be the actual brand. It's like maybe a knockoff brand or whatever. And I like use it as my pillow instead of an actual pillow.
You do?
Yeah. I love it. It's this little like aqua colored kitty cat unicorn. So it's a cat with a horn.
Okay.
And it's just really nice to sleep with. Jamie has a couple. Like a bluey one. And now like I'll see other ones out at the store and I'm like, Jamie, don't you want Muffin from Bluey? And he's like, no. And I'm like, oh,
wow.
damn.
So back to the budget app thing.
Yeah.
I don't know where my money's going. Jamie, you want this another Squishmallow?
Yeah. Yeah.
I did see, we did a toy drive at kickboxing too, and someone brought in the Bluey Squishmallow, and I like felt him. He's so soft.
Yeah. It's cute.
So now I want to know if your cat unicorn pillow thing has a name and a story.
I don't think it's an actual Squishmallow. I got it at CVS on like a whim 5 years ago.
Oh shoot, were they even a
long
thing?
time
I don't
ago.
even know.
I think so.
They were.
I think it's.
I literally just learned of them like this month.
Yeah. No, they're fun. I heart them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What did I have next? I don't know. Oh, acrylic nails.
Hate them.
Okay.
Love it for you.
I've been doing them.
I know. I think that's great.
Because I did them for a wedding. I think we talked about this when we talked about gel nail polish, which like I guess I have to love gel nail polish too because it stays forever. But I've been doing them since I went to Catherine's wedding, which was like the first week of October, and I've just kept getting fills and stuff, like kept getting them redone. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like it's helping me. Just, I don't know what this means, but it's just stay grounded or something. I also feel like I know that when I get like acne and stuff, like I'll pick at it, or if I have dry skin, like I'm scratching, and I feel like having acrylic nail, or ever since the past few months I've been having them and keeping them up, like I haven't been doing that.
Yeah.
Which is good, so I guess I'm just going to keep doing it. I hate that I spend money on my nails, but
Right.
But I guess it's worth it in the end.
I went through a phase where I was getting my nails done pretty regularly with gel nail polish.
Oh, yeah.
And I even didn't like how that, like, weakens your nail.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't get acrylics. It's just because I don't love the idea of my nails getting weaker.
Yeah.
Because I think they look terrible right now. But I have nails that grow out really nice and long.
Yeah, mine usually don't grow super long.
I'm quite proud of them. So, yeah, I'll usually just do... go and get my actual nails done with gel, but then even then I'll like only do that a couple times in a row, and then I'll take a break to keep my nails healthy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I do wish I was getting my nails done more often. I don't, because I am sometimes trying to save my money. So that's one of the things that I haven't been doing. Instead, I'm just buying Squishmallows for my son. But I have been like, oh, maybe I should, because I did, like, in high school, I liked to do my own, like, nail art, because that's what I like. I liked going to the salon and getting, like, those really pretty, like, Pinterest-worthy, like, nail designs. And when I was in high school, I used to try to do that, and it obviously didn't look as good, but it's, like, fun to do. So maybe I'll try doing that again if I want nice and pretty nails.
So you're a hate it on acrylics. Okay, I'm a heart it. Okay, what's the last one?
Heart it or hate it, travel mugs.
Like the ones that I had, like the Contigo,
Yeah, like just instead of...
like not just like an open mug.
Instead of this, yeah, something that's got like the container,
Yeah.
the top.
I mean, I heart it, especially if it's a vehicle for coffee. Sure. I'll take this mug, I'll take that mug, whatever.
Yeah.
No, but I do love specifically the Contigo ones because they're spill proof and they lock at the top. So especially when I was in like college and then when I was commuting to work, I have like a bunch of those still, honestly, because I would just like make my coffee, lock the thing, throw it in my bag.
Yeah.
Didn't have to worry about it like spilling in the car or leaking anywhere. Because I also like when you're walking on college campuses, like I need my hands, I need my phone, I need my whatever. So
Yeah.
I mean, those.
I'm going to say hate it because I don't actually use them. Like hate feels like a very strong word.
Right.
But one of the reasons why I brought it up is because when we made the Girls Just Wanna mugs, we could also have, or I think we do also have, travel mugs that people can purchase. But I didn't get those for us because...
Well, we're just sitting here. We don't need to travel.
Yeah. But, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'll say hate it. It's a soft hate.
Yeah. You're like, it's just an indifference. It's just
exactly.
a middle ground.
Hate is very strong, but I don't heart it. So yeah.
All right, that's it for Heart It or Hate It this week. Thanks for tuning in for our first episode of 2025. Yay! Can't wait to bring you so many more guests this year. Make sure you are subscribed on YouTube and then following the podcast wherever else. Spotify obviously is a big one, but we have iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, so whatever your preference is. And we would love it if to start 2025 you left us a review of the show.
Yes, please.
So that other people can find us and know how funny and awesome we are.
Yeah.
Duh. Don't you want to give them that gift in 2025? All right.
All right. Later, ladies.
Bye.
I feel like you're crushing it, like you're everywhere.
Oh, I'm glad it seems
thanks.
that way.
Maybe I just like
It's fine.
It's fine if you swear.
I'm getting
we
him.
swear.
I'm getting him out.